Welcome to the Body Science Podcast. As always, the information contained in this podcast is for the information purposes only and is not designed to diagnose or be prescriptive to treat, prevent, or manage any injury, disease, or other health-related condition.
Welcome to Body Science HQ, the world of fit, happy, healthy. And today, I don't know if this human is motivated, inspirational, or just a nut. It's probably not the way you've been introduced before, but I have Bonnie Hancock here. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. No, I'll take that introduction. I've been called
You are crazy. Like, seriously, you've done some crazy shit recently, and I tell you what, it is highly inspirational.
Thank you.
And a lot of people out there probably don't know that, but you're a dietitian as well.
I am a dietitian, yeah. Yep. Graduated from Griffith up here on the Gold Coast, actually moved from Coffs Harbour to come up here and do uni and become an Ironwoman. So
yeah, no, I was getting to that bit because also next to you is another dietitian, Mark. How are you, mate? Mark's our in-house dietitian here at Body Science.
Very good, Greg.
So you guys can talk some nerd in a second. That'll be exciting. We can, especially when we start talking about some of the things you've done, like your recent big thing. And I mean, you've done a lot of recent big things. You've got, you're the longest, fastest.
Yeah.
You've got 2 world records?
2 world records, yeah. They've just been verified. So it takes so long to be verified through Guinness World Records. You've got to submit all of the data, the boat logs, the witness statements, over all our GPS data. So I'm officially the fastest person to have paddled around Australia and also have the female record for longest distance in 24 hours paddling, which is 235 kilometres. And for a time, I had the overall record, and it's just been broken by some men in South Africa who had a crack at it.
Wow.
And now you start to think, do I go back and have another go? But we'll leave that one for now, I think.
I just don't know how to take that.
Wow.
Mark, what do you think? Go back and do it or not?
I don't think you need to, no, Bonnie. There's nothing more to prove.
Exactly.
I mean,
I'm thinking the same thing.
It's incredible. I would have definitely decided to have retired on top, just right where you are. Yeah.
No, I'm very, very stoked to get the world records. It's interesting actually because I'm also the youngest to have paddled, and that used to be a record, but apparently all these kids were coming out doing crazy things, and they had to actually stop that. There's no more youngest to do so. So yeah, that was interesting.
Okay, nothing like a driven mum and dad. Hey, let's step back a bit. Like you paddled around Australia, but let's talk about the reason that you did that. Like, because it's a pretty cool story, isn't it?
I think so, yeah. And it only kind of came out, I guess, after the more I thought about it, how I was meant to pick up that book that day. So mid-COVID, 2020, in lockdown, no restaurants were open, no cafes. The library had just opened back up. I love going to the library, massive nerd, was perusing the biography section, and I picked up 3 books, and one was a book on Winx, there was a book on the late Shane Warne, and the third was a black book called Fearless. Saw a woman with cross paddles on the cover and thought, that looks interesting. I didn't even look any further, honestly. I picked it up. It was the 3rd book I got to, and it was about Freya Hofmeister. She's a German woman who paddled around Australia in 2009. She beat the 3 blokes that had done it prior to get the world record. And honestly, from a chapter into reading that book, I was just had this overwhelming feeling like this is something I have to do. It was just like, I've got to do this. I finished the book, turned to my husband, and I said, I want to paddle around Australia. And I commonly tell this story, but he looked at me. He didn't know what to say. And if anyone knows Matt, he never has a bad word to say. And I think he didn't want to crush my spirits and say that is absolutely nuts, because it is. Freya had been chased by crocodiles, chased by sharks, had so many near misses that you would be crazy to do this trip. For 6 months, I then shelved the idea. I shelved the idea and I thought of all the reasons not to do it, but that idea would not go away. And eventually I wrote a list, and I wrote all the whys and the why nots, and there were so many why nots. But the biggest why was that I didn't want to get to be an old woman and regret not having done it. It was that fear of regret. And I could envision myself as an old woman sitting there regretting not having done the paddle. And I thought, stuff that, I'm jumping in. And from the moment we committed, and I revisited it with Matt, he came on the journey with me. We went all in. But that started the process of having to raise over $200,000 and planning a trip in the stunning but often scary and treacherous coastline of Australia.
Well said. That's very well documented story.
Oh, I'm thinking of shark.
Yeah.
For you to have that big list, did you repeat any words on that, the negative side of why to do it? Like, surely shark gets rid of more than once.
100%. Yeah, sharks. Like, I mean, in Australia, we are known for having some of the most dangerous creatures in the world, right? Like South Australia, Western Australia, there are so many great white attacks that have been documented, some fatal. I was going to be paddling a long way out to sea. So to break this record, I had to head out to sea. So Australia's coastline is far from a perfect circle. So you don't want to hug the coastline.
You can't paddle too much, is that why?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So there was
The big
one,
bite.
the big bite, the
Yeah.
Great Australian Bite. There's two big chunks out of the country. There's the Gulf of Carpentaria up the top. There's a Great Australian Bite down underneath.
Didn't think of the top one.
Yeah, 1,000 kilometres in cutting straight across. And I knew I had to do that to get the record.
Wow.
And I
That
did.
meant you were how deep?
500 kilometres out to sea. And the best
500
way-
kilometres?
500.
Okay, so how does rescue come into this?
There is no rescue.
Okay.
So firstly, to give a scope on how far out I was 100K out most days to sea. So when you stand on a beach and look out, it's 40K to the horizon you can see. So it's 100K out. That's no land in sight. 500Ks out of helicopter range. There's no one coming to help you if something happens for a couple of days at least.
Wow.
Oh, the horizon is 40K.
40K you can see the horizon. So more than double that each day. And it took me about a month. I was packing it for the first few weeks paddling that far out. It's hard to explain the feeling of being on a tiny little 9-kilo carbon fiber ski. I have a catamaran with me, but I can only get 100 meters to it. Distance from it's 10 ton. You hit that cat, it can be fatal.
Yep.
You're coming out second best. And I did crash into the catamaran a couple of times and had a few near misses, but I managed to, for the most part, stay well away from it. But
You're getting sweaty palms. I'm more nervous.
I don't know. The sharks are getting bigger in my head. That's all that's happening to me. The sharks are getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
Yeah. And I actually, down near Port Lincoln, which is where they do the cage diving, I did crash into the catamaran and got a hole in my ski. And my husband, Matt, was on land. He had to come out with a jet ski to where we were and a tiny little island off of there, pick the ski up, take it back by jet ski and drop the ski back out the next day after it was fixed.
No
So
way.
he's putting away on this little ski in shark-infested waters to get the ski to me. So there was us on the boat and me on the ski.
There you are. You're on a ski paddling across it and you're making him out to be the hero.
Yeah. Absolutely.
That's
And
the best.
honestly, it's the whole crew. They're all heroes to me because I could not have done this without my crew. Every single day I relied on them to get me through. I looked at them. I drew motivation from them. And mentally and physically, to be honest. At the end of the day, for the first month, adapting to 100K day, I was on the deck, sprawled out, unable to move, barely able to talk. And they would massage me, get my dinner. You know, down in Victoria, you're looking at a couple of degrees in the air outside. It's 10 degrees in the water. It's like an ice bath. That crew, you literally rely on them so you don't get hypothermia. They've got the hairdryer down a space blanket, like crazy stuff.
How long were you paddling for during that time when it was that cold?
So about 16 hours a day down. In the Bight, I did about 18 hours.
So you're doing 16 hours a day?
Yeah, 18 hours a day across the Bight. Yeah.
Who gave you the knowledge of what you needed to take and where during that? Because, I mean, on the Gold Coast, you know, our winters are like
we
a
do
summer in
not
most
dress
places.
for cold up here, right? Like, and it's like the Nordic countries, it's designed for the cold. They dress properly, they have heating. I learnt a lot. I got advised by the skipper to pack, you know, really good sailing gear. Didn't do that. So I got down there and didn't really have enough. I was putting the same wet steamer on every day because my thermals weren't thick enough.
Yeah.
Pulling a wet steamer on. Nothing was dry either. Nothing would dry. So you'd hang something out and it just go freezing cold.
As a surfer, nothing worse than a wet wetsuit.
Right. Like, and that was just all day, every day. It just became normal to me. We sort of had to normalize it to some degree and bring humor into it as well. And we would joke about these things as a crew because it was just ridiculous. You couldn't make it up.
How thick a wetsuit were you wearing?
4'3". Yeah, 4'3".
How was that to paddle in?
Actually, and I will drop, Vicovy is a brand done here in Australia, and he, Pat, the owner, has a sailing background, and he has done so much research on, you know, movement with the garment and sort of, you know, that flex in the garment. It was fantastic.
Oh, wow.
But I had a beanie on, I had gloves on, I had booties, I had a jacket on over the top. So when I fell out, it was really hard to get back in.
How many times did you fall during that?
I was falling out.
I'm asking some dumb questions. I'm just thinking.
No, they're actually great. They're actually great questions because I forget about these things because it became so normal. I was falling out 3 to 5 times a day.
Because if I can ask, if you're in your skis, how long?
6 meters.
6 meters. So you're moving forward at what speed were you doing?
So in the flat, I would hold around 11 to 12K an hour. With the tailwind, I could get up to 14 to 17K an hour.
So you're going across the Bight, you fall off sideways, so you go underwater and on a different angle to your ski.
Yeah.
And then you've got to swim in that. How cold was the water again?
It was about 10 degrees in the water. So I was strapped to my ski by the stage with a safety line and carabiner. It's what Jess Watson uses to attach herself to onto a boat when you watch that movie True Spirit, because the leggies or the leg ropes we normally use weren't strong enough. They would just snap in the wind gusts.
Wow.
So I tried that earlier, but the beauty was starting on the Gold Coast and working our way down gave us the time to test our protocols, test everything. And when we got to the Bight, I'm there with stainless steel, like carabiners on. So when I fell off, I would get dragged with my ski, but it was all on me to get back in because that boat can't get near me.
Are you just thinking like game fishing, like as a human being dragged on a...
Yeah.
You are a nut. You really are.
And
I've got to give you full credit there, because I'm sitting here thinking there is not one chance that I would even have jumped in with you and done any of that. I'm happy to say that publicly.
Greg was telling us before, he was boasting about how once he paddled out just around the shark nets and thought it was brave. Just on the surfboard paddling out to the shark net and back.
When you're doing that, your brain changes during the paddle. Because I don't really fear sharks in the water because I've been in the water a lot. Down there, all I can think of.
Yes. As soon as you get close to the nets, you get all.
And that ski at 6 meters is not long enough.
Imagine that.
It's and there were a couple of times I did see shadows. It was really eerie because we saw nothing for the 2 weeks, but it is so quiet out there. Like there's no
probably worse than that.
It's so quiet. It's so
Really?
quiet. A squawk of a bird will make you jump and all we saw was mutton birds and albatross. These huge albatross with the broad wingspan would follow me all day. They're beautiful. They told us to expect killer whales. They told us to expect great white sharks. And I was normalizing the fact that I would see them. Before the trip, I was actually looking at pictures of sharks and crocodiles to envision what it would look like if they came up to me. So I didn't fall out. And I was almost in a mind frame of
You're ready for it.
I was going to see them at any time. But the crocodiles are a whole other story as well. And they start from Broome and go all the way through to pretty much Townsville. So
that's a fair
third of our coastline.
Yeah, exactly.
I didn't know that before the trip.
Did they go far out in the water?
They do. They travel between the islands. So we were told that the best chance I had of survival or avoiding a crocodile attack was to head as far out to sea as possible because they're more populated in the coast. They said they get bigger as they cross between the islands. So you're heading out to get less, but that's where you can come across the big ones. So you're going to have to paddle in crocodile waters at some stage or other on this trip. Whether you choose to do that bit first or last, you got to do it. You got to paddle every meter. Yeah.
Was any of this at night?
A lot at night. And that's the bit I often forget to tell. So firstly in the Bight, I was falling out at night time. It would take 500 meters for the boat to be able to turn around and come back to me, my catamaran. So for 500 meters, I was in the water with a head torch on. Often there was no moon. So when you have a new moon or no moon, so that boat's sailing away, it's just me and my head torch. And I'm in that water waiting for them to come back. There was a day where I was in the water for 10 minutes. It takes 12 minutes of submersion to get hypothermic, and I couldn't pull myself back into the ski.
I was going to ask you that, was one of your biggest challenges getting back on your ski when you fell off?
100%, because you've got all this gear on, right? You've got a jacket on, you're in a wetsuit, you're in booties. So you're trying to, and this is at the end of 150, maybe, further in a day. You have no really.
You wouldn't even have been able to straighten your hands, would you?
No, the finger joints were one of the biggest things that threatened to bring this paddle undone. So your muscles can condition, obviously, to the load to some degree, but your joints can't. So I got bulging discs in my back by the end. My fingers swole to twice the size. So the joints were the most painful part. And the only thing that helped them, and it took us until Darwin to figure it out, was trawling gloves, because they've got the cross hatching and a lot of grip. So I wouldn't have to grip the paddle as much. They sort of allowed me to relax.
Wow.
So I'm there with trawling gloves on. We tried everything. So
obviously the BSC collagen as well would have helped.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, I was going to say I was smashing the Body Science products, and I know we'll get into that, but up in the Northern Territory, when we talk about the challenges, for me, one of the biggest things was the heat, and that actually made me feel quite sick and nauseous through the day.
Oh, the extremes. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. So one of the things I kept down was actually the Body Science shakes, and I was just desperately trying to get protein in as well because my muscle mass was starting to.
And as a dietitian too, you know what's happening to your body. It's not just ouch, that's hurting.
Well, absolutely.
You actually know what's happening.
It was actually one of the worst things because I planned, had all this plan, and fresh food only lasts so long on a boat, and then you're going to frozen anyway. But I had a plan of what I was going to do. And once I got seasick, that just went out the window. Out the window as soon as as soon as I started vomiting, which started happening from around the Victorian border, where basically got more treacherous and the swells picked up and we were a long way out to sea. I was holding nothing down.
Really?
It was horrible, yeah.
Wow.
So I've never had seasickness, but I've laughed at some mates that have had it because when you don't have it, it's quite funny. But they tell me it is the worst place in the world to be.
It's the only thing that makes it better is to lay flat on your back outside and get your body temperature down. But I'm on a ski and you've got that exertion.
Were you getting it on your ski?
Oh, yeah. I was
Stop it.
projectile vomiting out into the water on my ski when all there was left was stomach acid to vomit up. I was dry reaching and bringing up stomach acid. It was ugly as. It was disgusting. Yeah.
Has anyone ever spoken about being seasick on a ski?
I don't know if anyone's done it, but it was
On a paddle around a street? Yeah. But when you start putting it all together, it sounds like fun.
It was the challenges came from places I didn't expect.
Yeah.
I didn't think I got seasick, honestly. I'd been up to the Great Barrier Reef once and I thought I was sick because I was hungover. It was during uni placement. And I thought, no, it's fine. Took the medication up there. Everything was coming up. And it was about half the crew. So it got to half of us. The other half were fine.
Oh, wow.
So, that some of our crew were suffering really badly. And luckily by that stage, the less experienced sailors had taught the more experienced had taught the less experienced sailors, and people were able to step up because you've got a 24-hour watch.
Yeah, because they would have had roles too. And safety would be a big part of that, I assume.
100%,
Yeah.
right? So you've got the experienced sailors who have sailed in storms and no one had sailed that far out to sea though. The skipper had crossed the bight, but no one else had. No one else had sailed more than 50K offshore. So everyone was out of their comfort zone. And I would look at them, see them vomiting, see them in pain and think my job here is to paddle as far and fast as I can every day. And that helped pull me through too.
That would have motivated you.
Exactly.
You're responsible.
I was the only one who could take those strokes. I couldn't pass that baton on. It had to be me.
So in these big sessions you did where you went out to ocean, how many days were you on the water before you actually hit land again?
So we were across the bight. It took 13 days to paddle across and then another 2 days to actually get to the mainland. So before we're back on land, it's 15 days. It was quite common to go a couple of weeks at sea throughout the trip without touching land. And by the time you come back to land, you're kind of
can you get comfortable once you're back on land?
Oh, you feel like you're sealing the ocean, to be honest. And there's no reception for that time either. So I wasn't able to speak to Matt, my husband, for that time. He's on land, just following a little dot working its way across the bight or wherever we were. No family contact. Yeah, that was incredibly tough.
I know you're going to say that he was essential for you from the land perspective to go from port to port or wherever you're going, but I'm going to make a bullshit call on that, say that he just wasn't any good on a boat.
He was actually horrible on a boat. He got very seasick, so it probably worked out well. To be honest, we were heading down the New South Wales coast and the WA Premier closed the borders. Before my trip,
wow.
The borders had opened up.
Wow, we're going to talk about overcoming objections and issues soon because I really want to know how you got that, how you processed that.
Yeah, it was so tough. Like they opened the borders. I thought, awesome, this is great timing. Like the borders have opened before I've left. Then he closed the borders. So I'm heading down the New South Wales coast without the guarantee we were going to cross into that WA. We started looking at options of heading out into international waters as an option to be able to get around. So we'd have to head another 500K out to get international waters. So we were looking at that as a very real possibility of pulling this world record off, as in not coming to land once through the whole thing to get into that. To get into WA.
So there was an issue with you getting across the border, even being that far out to sea.
Yeah. So basically,
sea COVID was a bad thing.
Wow.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Well, there was someone. I think it was the people who were jumping on yachts, crossing borders and things that probably caused the issue. So you weren't allowed to come in by boat. You weren't allowed to come in anyway. And it was people were almost locked in the state, and if family was outside, you were not allowed to come in or out. He closed those borders hard. Like they did in New South Wales and Queensland. Like you had families either side of that border. People weren't able to see grandkids and all sorts of things.
Yeah, it's a tough time.
So they thought you were pulling a really elaborate move going out that
probably
deep on a ski to try and trick them.
Look, I don't know, but Matt did manage to get the exemption. So basically when we found that out, he had to hit land because someone had to pull that off to get the exemption, and the paperwork was ridiculous. So he managed to do that just in time. And we were told as we were heading out into the bight that we had to spend a full 18 days away from civilization. So even though we would be 500k out to sea, we still, when we returned, had to spend another couple of days on the boat before we set foot on land. So, COVID wasn't that long ago, and we forget how
we do forget
us, right? Yeah.
I actually don't know what to say right now.
There's just so many obstacles. Yeah. So talk us through when you finish a day, like potentially a 16-day, like you said, what's the first thing you look forward to when you get onto the boat? Or what's your first hour of water?
Being able to eat something without like the ocean washing it. So there were times where I would have an awesome meal, like the guys had just made me like a wrap with chicken and vegetables on my lap, and I open up like the foil or whatever, go to eat it, and then a wave comes in and soaks it. It's devastating.
The small things in life, you're just looking forward to that, and then even that gets spoiled.
So definitely come on the boat. And honestly, the first thing I would do is grab a Body Science shake and get that into me, because no matter how much my stomach was swelled up, I could hold that down. Yeah, and the other thing when it was hot was getting my body temperature back down. So cooling fluids helped to do that. And then the guys would normally have, and by guys I mean my crew on the boat, would normally have made me up some sort of meal. If I had an earlier finish, that might look, as I said, like a wrap. Usually a heated meal. If it was in the cold, we would get as much hot food, so it would be more like soups and casseroles and things like that. Up in the Northern Territory, I had to get smoothies down with the protein powder, because I couldn't even think about holding down a hot meal up there. So
very dependent on the weather for that day.
100%.
Yeah, what you would feel like.
Exactly. What you would feel like. And you would have random cravings. Like halfway through the day, you'd like, give me salt, or if I did start to cramp, and it would always be in my feet, definitely the salt was important, sodium. But and then what I would do would be to have a shower and wash the salt water off me, which is the best feeling. But when I say shower, I'm talking about from Darwin onwards, when we had a catamaran with a shower. Over to Perth, we had a catamaran without a shower. So all I got was one bucket of warm water over my head in the Great Australian Bight.
You couldn't even have the shower after that.
So warm water, one bucket over the head, and that was it for the day. And it is amazing how you strip things back, and that minimalism, you soak that up, that one bucket of water I would look forward to. And it didn't even become that I missed a hot shower. I just enjoyed that one bucket. It's crazy how you adapt like that.
It goes back to putting things into perspective. You're just after the very basic core essentials of life, and you're satisfied with that.
100%, honestly. And I did try to reframe things. Like in the bight, there was a time where I started getting into a victim mentality. Like, as I said, I wish I could pass the baton on. I wish someone else could be doing this, or it was a relay, or why did I choose to do this on my own? And then I would look up and see the Southern Cross shining across the sky, 500k out to sea, no light pollution, and be like,
wow,
what an opportunity this is. This is the only time you will ever get to do this. No one has ever done this before in history, paddled across here. So you were seeing a perspective that is so rare from your little ski up. And I think just that feeling makes you realize that you're so small in the world. And I think that's a really healthy thing to...
It's true, because we've talked more about the challenges and the craziness of this, but maybe not actually the blessings and the happiness involved in this also, and how much you could actually take enjoyment.
You had to find those moments. You absolutely had to, because out there, when you're seasick, like, food's not a source of comfort or joy. My music was definitely, that was really important to me. And people often ask what I listen to.
Your playlist.
I listen to Eminem. Like, I reckon I would have listened to one of his albums 5,000 times. Like, honestly, the way it goes, you almost start to feel like you are Eminem. Stormzy is another one, right? Like, what's that?
Just drop a few lines.
Oh, no.
Okay. There you go. Good plug for Eminem.
We all know how Lose Yourself goes. But I think he tried to sue a US presidential candidate the other day for actually rapping some of his lyrics.
Oh, wow.
I just saw that. Okay. And when I wrote my book, I tried to put some of the Eminem lyrics in, and then the editor said, take that straight out, because you've actually got to pay for that, and it's very expensive, obviously, to use his lyrics, which I didn't realize that. So I actually was trying to bring people into that moment where I was rapping to myself.
Something like
that.
It
sounded a little bit like it then. Did you pick up on that?
Yeah, oh, look, get the hoodie out of But you do have to find little sources of joy and comfort, and a huge part of that is taking in your surroundings.
Were you playing it into your ears, or were you pumping it from the boat?
So at the start, we were pumping it from the boat, and then derogatory terms probably wasn't appropriate all the time to be blasting. So we actually got these Shox earphones, which are waterproof, the best things ever. They sit just here. They don't sit within your ear. They actually sit just outside your ear.
Are they bone conducting ones?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Thank you. They were awesome. And the charge, they last all day. Okay. And I would just have them going all day. And because I couldn't hold a conversation in the wind with my crew, it almost felt like you had company. Because if you took that out,
yeah, okay.
Actually make a massive difference.
Yeah.
I can imagine. That must be so crucial in retrospect to this whole trip.
I literally think it got me through. Because if I took them out and it's just the wind I can hear, you're thinking, was that a shadow or was that a shark? Was that like you're jumping at shadows? But with that music in, you're just working your way through each song to the next. And when you are in so much pain, I'm not going there. When you're in so much
pain, start seeing you watch.
You can only work to the next song. That's sometimes all. You can't even look past that.
Wow, that's setting some small, fast goals.
Yeah, exactly.
Staying really agile.
Get to the next song as best you can.
Yeah.
That changes now. Go change your tempo up and down with the tempo of the song. But I figured these things out as I went.
Final question about the comfort when you get off. So when you're on the boat, so you've had the quick bucket shower, you've had some food, and then is there a comfortable place to rest?
So on a boat, it's like being on a roller coaster. It's like, I remember times in the Gulf where I had one foot pushed against the wall, one against the dining table to stop myself sliding across the boat and slamming into the wall because that happened. So these boats just get rocked. These swells are 5 to 6 meters. So the swells are so big that the catamaran would drop out of sight as I'm paddling. So when you're on the boat, it's like being on a roller coaster. You've almost got to, brace yourself or you can get really hurt. Everything's got to be strapped down. There can be nothing loose, like on a table. The galley or the kitchen, no knives, nothing is allowed to be taken out. Because if that knife goes flying, then it's hitting someone. So, you literally just try to lay flat, try to get as warm as possible. And I did use the boots as well as a bit of a flush before I got the massage. And they made a huge difference too, the compression boots. Okay. So we tried to bring that level of professionalism to it. But it was ugly. It was so ugly.
I've never been on a boat for weeks. Mm-hmm. Does it become a toxic environment?
There's no privacy.
Yeah.
And I'm someone who needs my privacy, right? Like I think most of us have that. We're social beings, but we need that time to reflect and to think and, plan and all of that. You don't have that. So even when we did have reception, you want a conversation on the phone, like everyone's hearing it.
Yeah, okay.
You want to talk to someone on the boat, everyone can hear it. It's like it's literally like the space of this room, a tiny little living room with cabins thrown in there. So there's no privacy. That's what I really struggled with.
Yeah, okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
Hi, I'm Tom Green, Olympic champ from Tokyo. And if you want the best tasting protein bars on the market, you should try the new Body Science Mousse range. Greg, you better be testing these.
Mate, they're getting drug tested. Got you covered. Okay, I'm going to have to ask the nerds here, the two dietitians. How many calories a day were you expending?
I know. Oh my gosh. Up to 10,000 calories a day.
Wow.
Which is about what I'd been told to expect. And it was in the cold water particularly. Yeah. So as your body's trying to keep warm, because I was so freezing cold in between. So I was actually expending energy even when I wasn't in the water. But I did put 15 kilos on prior to this trip. Mm-hmm. I didn't even really do a rough estimate. I thought I'll put on a significant amount of weight. I lost exactly 15 kilos, which makes me look good. But it literally was just a guess. And I just knew that if I was going to be paddling that far, I would lose weight. And I thought if I go in at like an Ironwoman kind of racing weight with minimal body fat, that's not smart because I'm hitting the cold water, 1 month in. So it did save me. I think the weight saved me from hypothermia a couple of times, to be honest. But I was uncomfortable leading and sitting in.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be nice. You normally sit a lot leaner to sit in a boat. Yeah. I mean, I may have a little belly that you guys haven't seen, but sitting is...
Well, they're 45 centimetres across.
Yeah.
They're 45 centimetres
kilos,
across.
That's a big...
Right.
Yeah.
Across the seat. So they are very, very tippy. So, and when I got to WA, I'd pretty much lost that weight. I lost 8 kilos in 2 weeks across the bite, which isn't a healthy amount of weight to lose. Just everything, no food held down, huge Ks and stress.
Oh, so you're doing 10,000 calories a day and not able to eat food.
Yeah. So
wow.
Expending 10,000 calories, which is 42,000 kilojoule for those in kilojoules. So you're expending that much energy. No way you're able to replenish anywhere near to that.
Absolutely not. And I could just feel but like I was really surprised when we got in. I pretty much went straight to hospital, got all the blood tests done, and everything came back okay. But I'd made sure leading in, like particularly iron as a female athlete had been an issue for me. I made sure that my iron was sitting, in the higher end of normal and everything was okay. But I had to get the IV fluids pumped in, like liters of IV fluids, more as a precautionary thing. I was so dehydrated too.
Wow.
Lips,
it's obviously testimony to your knowledge and your history of being a professional athlete that you would be able to come out of this.
Oh,
okay.
I just call it a weapon.
Yeah, wow.
I think just by the end, the biggest one for me as well, I could feel when my blood sugars would just go so low. And that's when I would desperately try to get at least some lollies in.
That's a dangerous space to be in a big waterway when you're like that.
Yeah, 100%. Like you can feel like you've got the shakes, you've got the low blood sugar levels. And the most distressing thing is trying to get, trying to get some lollies in or something really quick and vomiting those up. So you're trying to do the right thing and you're vomiting up. It's absolutely awful. And people often ask, would you do it again? I'd never do it again. I'd love for someone to do it and have a go at the record and help them. But I think the sense of naivety is kind of protective thing too. I'm really glad I didn't know what was coming across there, to be honest.
Yeah, go into a coaching role, mentor.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you do have a coaching mentoring role now, don't you?
Yeah, well, I am. I'm at Mermaid Beach, and how it worked out when I came back, I didn't really know what my plan was moving forward. I hadn't planned to go back nipper coaching, but I got a call from the surf club. They said, "Do you want to be our head nipper coach?" And I said, give me time to think. I was sitting at home. I'd been told by multiple people who'd done adventures to be careful of the low that can happen after. They said, just don't do nothing. You've been on this huge high. You've had a team around you. Don't come back to nothing. And I said, yes. And it was the best decision because it allowed me to tie in with this community. And now I'm at Mermaid Surf Club. I'm the head nipper coach there. We've got some young girls coming through and I'm so excited about that. And it is a really exciting time to be an athlete, to be a female athlete, just to be anyone. I think at the moment there's so many opportunities. So I'm excited for that next generation to
I love where sport's going at the moment. I really do.
Yeah.
But that's not the coaching mentoring I was talking about. I'm talking about your shy side, where you don't tell people that you actually go into businesses and do coaching and mentoring.
Oh, yes.
This is the one that helps pay back the bills.
Yeah.
Because there was some serious bills on your trip. Your trip was massive and you raised money for charity as well. Like you didn't just take it all and use it to make things better. You raised money for mental health.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So Gotcha for Life. And it was through COVID, the mental health rates were climbing. They were climbing in youth as well. And it wasn't spoken about. So depression, anxiety and suicide rates were climbing. And they said it was to do with the isolation. So as I said, we're social beings. People lost connection. I thought, I want to do some good with this paddle. I know I want to do some good with it. I started looking into charities. I'd heard about Gus Warland and the work he does at Gotcha for Life.
Yep.
He lost his best mate to suicide. Thought, I want to help that in whatever way I can. I want to help this charity. Started out, what I didn't expect was the community of people that we would develop that would follow this journey and message every day.
So cool.
Encouraging, telling stories about someone they'd lost close to them, struggles they'd had themselves. So we raised $120,000, which was incredible. Thank you. It was that everyone who was going to that site to donate was reading about what Gotcha for Life does. And it's kind of come full circle because I'm now an ambassador for them and I deliver workshops to corporates in schools and teach people about building mental fitness. And a big part of that is having a village around you, knowing who to reach out to when you're struggling and what to say when someone comes to you as well.
Before we miss this and forget it, if a corporate wants to get in contact with you to come and talk to their team, you all levels of management and team in the space you're in,
Absolutely. That's the beauty of it. Yeah, we address corporate schools, community groups, sporting groups, whoever, all genders. So I speak for Gotcha for Life and I also do my own corporate speaking as well with that sort of more motivational style. Reach out.
To be honest, I sat through one of those, loved it. If people want to get you to come in and do some motivational stuff with their team, how do they find you?
So either the website, bonniehancock.com or across any of the social
That was really
media.
quick.
bonniehancock.com.
Is that B-O-N-N-I-E?
Yes, it's BONNIE. BonnieHancock. So either the website or any of the social media platforms too. I'm regularly on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn as well. So yeah, reach out on any of those, and I would absolutely love to talk to you, whoever you are out there.
And look, just to back that up again, Sheree, our CEO, got you in to come and do something with our team recently in a, what do we call a reset we did here at Body Science, we do regularly. And I tell you what, you had people just going, because you've sort of been on the team for, it's been off and on for a while.
Yeah.
But you probably are very cemented in, almost hung on the wall name here now, because everybody, when you walked out, just went, oh my God, what a legend. And it was, and what you talked about, and look, people go to the website if you want to know what Bonnie does in that space, but it really resonated with a lot of, I'm going to say that the middle part of our team, like the, and I hate using the word mums and dads and that type of stuff, but those of us that have got kids and young kids and where life's, there's a lot of struggles being a parent these days. It's tough out there, as you know, and you really brought in a feeling of victory to the team, and it was epic.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really good.
Well, I always say that you can feel a culture about a place when you walk in the door. And I really did I feel that every time I walk into Body Science headquarters, and I felt it that day. And the way the team just gets around each other. And some of the questions were really impressive, to be honest, the way that people really thinking about it and putting their own spin on the journey too. Yep. And I think everyone kind of takes something different out of my story, which I find really, really fascinating and rewarding.
I think part of the cool part of what you did is you are going to launch a series, like a TV series.
Yeah. So we've got a documentary.
Yep.
We're in the final stages of producing that at the moment, which is so exciting. So it's coming out early next year. It's going to be post the book, which comes out in February.
So book in February and...
Yeah, doco. I'm saying March or April for the doco, so they'll be close together.
Is it one...
We're going to go feature length.
Yep, nice.
60 minutes is what we're looking at the moment.
Yeah, cool.
And I know nothing in that space.
You know what was funny though, like what I was getting to with that, which led into talking about that, was put a little bit of the footage up when you're doing your talk, and everyone was just mouths open going, because you can tell someone, hey, I paddled across the bite.
Yeah.
Until you see that.
Yeah.
And then,
that's just
and you see the cliffs, and you see, like, even if I got in trouble, I'm not getting out of the water. Like, the things that went through my head watching that was just...
Thank you.
Apart from your nut, it was, you're a weapon. Like, you really are an incredible human.
Thank you. I'm really excited for the book and documentary because they're sort of different as well. The book takes a big deep dive into where my mind went in that time, what got me through, what gets you through paddling for 2 weeks that far out to sea. How do you get through a moment where your crew's seen a shark at night and you've got to get in the water the next day, back in that same spot. And then the doco is high action, intense, just all crammed into that hour. And they're two different mediums very much. I'm excited.
And Bonnie, talking to you offset, I know that you were explaining that you actually have learned so much now about being an author in a way, because you've actually authored this book yourself, and plus you're narrating it as well, right?
Yeah.
So that's been a whole other journey in your life that you've now got that skill as well.
A whole other journey. So when I came back, I literally knew nothing about making a documentary, knew nothing about, a book, like publishing a book. I've always loved writing. And when I made that decision in 12 on what to do, it was either dietetics or journalism was the other one I was looking at. I love writing. I've always done it. And I wanted to write the book myself. I wanted to put pen to paper. I didn't want to have a ghostwriter.
Wow, old school.
Old school. So submitting that first draft, I was nervous on a whole different level. I was like, I'm used to what I do as an athlete. You get feedback. You're performing essentially and putting yourself out there to fail. This was the same thing. It was like, this might be terrible. I don't know. I think it's good. I think it's okay. But and the documentary's a bit different because it's sort of out of our hands. A producer's making it. But I've still got a good say in what we're going to show. But the book, I was hectic, out of the comfort zone.
Can I ask a dumb question? Like, you just did 12,700 kilometres?
Yeah.
Did someone put a film team on your boat, or did you guys do that yourself as part of it? And how does it all work?
Yeah, we organised it ourselves. I knew I wanted to share the journey. I had the idea of, making a documentary, but it was kind of just all up in the air at that stage. Is one of the best things I did was take those videographers. Yeah. One had just come off the set of Elvis. He was really experienced, and the angles he got and the perspective, it was incredible. And I'm so grateful for them because they would be there at night, knelt down at the front of the boat. I wouldn't even see them getting this front up, close up angle, really putting you in the seat. Like you feel like you are there with what's happening. And
even like your team is incredible. Like imagine you're on the set of Elvis, I'm assuming, big production, lots of luxury.
Yep.
It's movies, it's US-based movies. Now you're on a boat and you can't get off and you're stuck.
Yeah.
And you've committed to something. I assume the commitment there was fairly mutual between everybody. That's what kept people on water and moving forward was.
The coolest thing was they had so many opportunities where they could have quit. And I would say to them all the time, if you want to go home, if it's too much, you can. Nothing's keeping you here. They were volunteering their time. As I said, this journey, we couldn't afford to pay people. So we had to find dedicated people who were there for the experience. And they wanted a once in a lifetime experience.
That is a huge experience, isn't it?
Right. And they came along and to their credit, never once did they tap out or even talk about tapping out. So it was like an unspoken thing, I think, in the end, that we were all in it together. Yeah.
Wow.
How cool being the leader of that though, and how motivating for you knowing that you've got a film crew there.
Do you think of yourself, I love where you're going with that. Do you think of yourself as a leader?
I do now. I didn't prior. I had to find that in myself. And I think, I've come from a background as an individual professional athlete. So as an Ironwoman, it's you on that line. You obviously have, the girls you train with are on that line with you too. You're racing them. This is a whole different thing. I've never had a whole team around me whilst I'm performing or whilst I'm competing to talk, throughout the day about how I'm feeling, all of that. So I had to find it in myself to lead a team because that crew was so important, and to lead an all-male team. Most of the time they were all male on the boat. That wasn't easy either. Different personalities at different times, like crew and skippers and all sorts of things, and then myself, what I was facing in the water. And I had to learn to step up and communicate and back myself and speak directly, but also give the love away. I think if, away from the water, if you nurture someone and find out about them and build that personal relationship, when it comes to the middle of the ocean and there's a storm and you've got to say to someone really directly, go and do this, it's easy. You mesh as a team. So the relationships you build away from the work, I always say, just as important as at work. And I think that's something I encourage people within a workplace to do as well. Take the time to find out about someone's interests and hobbies and family, and you'll just build this awesome dynamic where you can communicate really effectively and directly.
That's so cool.
I'm resonating with that, and I hope that our listeners also, it's like sometimes, because if you took on responsibility for them as well, you took on that role of being the leader, it's almost like, you were keeping them accountable also on their duties. And that in a way is what helps you sharpen up yourself, doesn't it? And help 100%. You keep going when you know that you feel those moments in life. And that was obviously a time where you just stepped up massively into that.
Even early on in the planning stages, I didn't have the confidence to put my 2 cents in. I thought, I'm just the paddler here. That's my role. I don't know enough about the ocean and things. But when I stepped in and started, chipping in my ideas with the skipper, I realized that I'm the one in the water all day feeling these currents. And though the forecast might say something, I actually can feel what's going on. So I started helping to make those calls about what was going to happen. And that's when we really started making progress and putting that buffer on that world record, when we all started working together. So we brought our different senses of, expertise, but we were a unit. Yeah.
That's so cool. So what did the boat look like? You obviously had a skipper. Were there 2 skippers in case one skipper got hurt or sick?
No, but the crew were experienced. So the crew could and did step up on that helm.
A skipper, how many in the crew?
Skipper, there were 3 crew who were independent from our crew and 2 of my crew. And my crew's job was to also look after me. So they had to do the videography, look after me, and then take a role in that 24-hour watch system. On the helm, literally driving the boat, helping with the sails. Like they were cooking, cleaning. That's the other part of boat life, is you've all got to...
Cleaning would be so fundamentally important.
So important. And it's funny, every skipper has their little weird things. Like one skipper's no bananas on the boat. He's like, they stink when they go off, different things. One said you're absolutely never allowed to wear shoes on the boat. Every skipper has their rules about what's allowed. Some are a little bit messier than others. Others are Absolutely. It's got to be sparkling clean. So we had to just kind of adapt and respect those rules as well, because it wasn't our boat at the end of the day.
And did the skippers donate their time and boat as well, or do you have to fund that?
We had to fund that.
You had to fund that, okay.
That was the biggest cost of this trip. And there's no way I was ever going to do this trip without a catamaran, not for my family, for my husband. To set out in that water with no boat is just asking for something really bad to happen, and no one would ever know what happened to you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there's been a few adventurers who have gone missing. There's one guy, Andrew McCauley, he went missing 30k from New Zealand when he paddled from Australia to New Zealand. No one knows what happened. They found his kayak, they never found him. And just hearing his wife, like after that happened, say like, I just wish I'd told him not to go, you know, and I just thought,
wow.
I want the support crew with me. And I'm looking at this from a high performance perspective. I want to do this faster than anyone's ever done it. And Guinness World Records, you know, they said it can be supported or unsupported. So that made sense to me.
Yes, good.
I've had people say, they said, oh yeah, some people on social media, you had a support boat. I'm like, I was 500k out to sea. Like, you literally.
Haters are going to hate. They're going to find something. How's that couch going? Seriously.
Although one man, my favourite one, told me I was going to get eaten by crocodiles. So he's like, you will get eaten by crocodiles in Western Australia. There's no way you can get past that. We've done everything we could to prepare and learning all about where, the areas not to go. And he just kept coming at me with the crocodiles. So I had to block that one. But
Some people, hey.
You get some interesting ones. But that's okay. It comes with the territory. If you're going to do something, that's maybe previously considered impossible or very difficult, you're going to attract the people who have doubts. So I learnt to laugh it off, though.
You need that. It adds to the motivation.
Yeah, exactly. So
wow. Look, there were some cool things happen, and I just want to say a little thank you to the sons as well. So I remember Matt called me from Darwin, I think it was. Mm-hmm. Greg, Bonnie can't hold food down. She's dying, like it was. And after he told me for like half an hour how it's all been going, he said, I need to get some supplements up here straight away. We've got a 2-day window, I think it was.
Yeah.
I'm like, mate, there is no way I can get products up to where you were in 2 days. And then thankfully, the Gold Coast Suns, the players, took your products up for you. Yeah, like that's
perfect time.
Yeah,
they were coming up to play in Darwin.
Yep.
Oh, who they played the first week? I'm just trying to remember. They played 2 of the Melbourne teams who were up there, and they smashed it when the Suns were up. They played so well. I actually
caught up with them too, didn't you?
Caught up with them. Came and had a chat with them. Their massage therapist actually gave me a massage before I set back out.
So
it was
good.
Amazing. And so just again, like we went so long with just the crew with no external contact, that even just seeing them and talking to them, and they're incredible. So, and to have those products delivered like that, it was just meant to be.
I remember making the phone call to them, and I'm thinking, I've got no chance here, but I'm going to have a crack.
Yeah.
But it was just great. Like they just straight away went, yes, we're in. It was amazing. And I'm so glad those types of little things, that's just one thing in a massive wheel of stuff that happened for you. But I just want, from my side in that, I just want to say thanks to them for that, because Matt was fairly, I can understand why he got you over the border in WA, because he doesn't give up.
No, that's it. He's very persistent, and that, drive that he has. And I think he was so determined to make this happen, because we'd gotten all the way to Darwin. Like you said, I wasn't holding food down. It was 40 degrees as well. It was 40 degrees. It was 32 in the water. So 32 degrees in the water, which is just like a bath. So there is no relief. We started using these cooling towels, which are random. You wet them and then actually swing them around, and they do cool, but it would cool you for 5 seconds. Yeah, to actually get those shakes up there I could have in the day was really a saviour. So on your mat.
Yeah, good man. Hey, quick question. What was worse, the paddling in the cold or the paddling in the heat?
That is such a good question, because while I was in the cold, I thought I will never, ever complain about it being too hot. And when I was getting seared by the sun, I thought I'd rather go back to not the Bight particularly, but down to Victoria. I would rather paddle probably in the heat, but maybe I don't know how I could be more prepared, maybe have some kind of device which could shade me if I was to do it. I think that was the biggest thing, was no shade on my ski.
Yeah, okay.
And Matt actually had thought of that. He's an ideas man, so he's always thinking of things. He thought maybe we can put some sort of backrest in your ski or like a shade. I thought, no, I'll be fine. And so it was that sickly feel, like sunstroke type feeling. But I think the cold, you just never get warm, and you expend so much energy shading shaking and being cold. I would probably rather paddle in the heat, but I would be more prepared if possible. Yeah. And the only way to be more prepared would be to put a device on my ski which shaded me.
I've just had a little flashback then when you talked about the son's physio giving you a massage. So you had your film guys massaging you the whole 12,700 for the rest of it.
Yeah.
So did they do any courses or anything on that, or were you just saying lower, higher, harder, deeper?
No, and I hope they're listening to this because not at all. That was a constant joke. Like they're just figuring it out. Like, I think this muscle feels tight. We'll just get into that one.
No.
Yeah. And they got better and better, and they did the cupping and everything, and it helped a lot. Like I managed to avoid injury the whole way
That's
around.
So cool.
Like I had some sort of bit of a golf elbow in WA, but I paddled that far without injury. They really, really held my body together well. Like,
did you get tendonitis in your elbow in WA and still kept paddling?
Yes, I had a couple of days off where it was a bit of relief, but the worst thing was the bulging disc, and I could feel that start around Northern Territory when we entered that water. And by the time I got back to Queensland, I was just like gritting my teeth, and every stroke hurt. And I knew what it was. A physio had looked at it and said it was bulging disc. I hadn't had scans. I knew what it was, and I thought the only way to cure a bulging disc is to stop first of all the activity that's flaring it up. But I couldn't. I had to keep going. So that was hard too, because I thought, am I doing permanent damage here? I don't know. And it took about 2 months when I got back for that to settle down. But every stroke I took, I thought this could be worsening this for the rest of my life. And will it have been worth it? I'm not sure. But yes.
Well, I'll give you something to talk about when you're 60 and you can't get out of your chair.
Yeah. Oh, my gosh.
I made it, though.
I'm going to come back. Well, hopefully.
You absolutely inspire me as an athlete. You are an incredible human. And
Thank you.
I just love you being part of Body Science.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the two, from the athlete and also from the knowledge base that you have. It's
awesome. And I
you're
love
a perfect fit.
following the other Body Science athletes' journey. I think there's such a mix of athletes. So that's endurance athletes, explosive athletes, individual team sports. And like you said, where sport's going at the moment, it's incredible. You see all of these different sports getting more of a platform. Athletes are becoming more and more articulate. It's so interesting, and I'm so excited for where it's going.
Yeah, I've got to let you on a little secret here. We're launching a hydration drink. So that's coming out, and we're also doing some electrolyte gummies. And it was from talking to you that you started me in that process of it. That it really is a big hole in our brand as a sports nutrition brand. So yeah, we've got all the products you need for your next one.
There you go. I just thought that. I might have to go and test those out. That's it. And things that are convenient and taste good. And I think Body Science does so well at that, right? Like you want something that's going to taste good and you can hold down, particularly when you have that extreme amount of exertion. You don't want to be.
How good would that be? Just a little sachet of little red berry gummies to chew on while you're out there.
Might have held one or two of them down.
That, put your M&M in your ears and you're good to go.
There you go.
Chew along to lose yourself.
You motivated me to get that back into our range. Like we had it years ago, and then low carb came. And the whole sports nutrition industry went low carb. But yeah, it's good to see it coming back in our brand. And you inspired me to go down that path.
That's awesome. Thank you.
And it all comes out pretty soon, actually. So it's exciting.
And it'll help so many people in so many different ways. And, there's so many cool endurance sports as well. Just, speaking from my perspective, that I did an adventure race on the weekend, which was so fun.
Red Bull Defiance, how was it?
Red Bull Defiance. It was so hard. There's one time I was running in the middle of the forest and we were climbing up a muddy hill. And I said to my race partner, Beck, I think I'd rather paddle 150K than do this right now. And she's like, you're joking. I'm like, no, I'm pretty serious. It was awesome. It was everything you'd probably expect from a Red Bull race.
Yeah,
it
exactly.
puts you so much outside your comfort zone. You look back and you're like, that was epic. So yeah, maybe the old hydration gummies next year if I ever come back.
Yeah, exactly. Look, is there anyone you want to say thank you to, or anything you want to tell us before we go? I mean, you're dropping a book, you're dropping a documentary, you've got so many people that helped you on the way, you've supported charities. I mean, wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think that tie with Gotcha for Life is so important, and doing more and more work with them. Shore & Partners as well is
massive supporters, aren't they?
Absolutely essential.
How good are they?
They're amazing, and I never would have got to the start line without them. I remember ringing Earl and pitching the idea to him, and I think he thought, who is this crazy person? He'd known me as an Ironwoman. He came on board, backed me in, as did Body Science, and it's people like yourselves that gave me the belief that I could do it as well. And it's really exciting where Surf Life Saving's going with Shore & Partners support is awesome. And I think maybe it'll get back to the glory days where it once was in the 80s and 90s, right?
Cool. It's not very often that you see a brand revolutionise the sport sport like these days because it's such a big play.
Yeah.
He has dead set changed and turned that sport upside down.
100%.
And lots of sports too. Rugby league's benefiting from it. Like lots of people are benefiting.
Definitely, because they're involved in the V8s. They're involved with the NRL. And I think, with the Sea Eagles, I think seeing how it's done well with promotion and marketing, he's kind of bringing that to surf lifesaving, giving it a bit of flair, encouraging the athletes to be professional in everything they do, and it's going to keep taking the standard up, which is great for the sport.
Summer Series, is that what it's called?
Summer Surf Series.
Summer Surf Series,
and they have one of the big rounds, the Shannon Eckstein Classic at the Gold Coast. It's turned it on about 8-foot surf every year.
We had a stand there this year actually. Yeah, it was
every year
good sport to watch.
Right, it's like cyclone season around that February, so it picks up. And, they do the big V up here, the big finish line there. They put the juniors have their race in the same arena to encouraging the next generation, which is something I'm hugely passionate about. So Earl at Shaw and Partners is doing some really good things.
Nice work, Earl. Nice work. Well, Bonnie, thanks for coming on. We love you here. You are welcome anytime.
Thank you, Body Science.
Mark, thanks for coming on. Mark's a world champion too in lifting tin.
Thanks, Bonnie. That's been inspirational.
2 world champions in one couch.
What's the
good couch?
What's the event? I need to hear this.
Oh no! This is 10 years ago now. Fitness modeling with Muscle Mania Federation as a natural fitness model. Yeah,
that's super competitive as well, right? Where was
same blood sugar issues?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, different reasons.
Yeah, it was in Vegas.
Yeah.
So you sort of win an Australian division, and you get selected to go over to America, and then competed there, and then
it's a taxing sport too, for people to understand what you guys do. It's pretty taxing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mentally, mentally the sacrifices. Not everyone could do that. It's crazy.
It's very much just trying to use it as a goal to get yourself into the best shape of your life though, hey?
Yeah.
And then not worry about what the competition lands up being on the day, but knowing that
100%.
It's already a win because you've gone through the journey and you got to the place that you want to be. And then it's the time to shine and enjoy the actual day, whatever happens. So
definitely,
I was fortunate that the results all went my way, but since then I've tried to transfer it into that sort of ethos of coaching others to think like that, because it is a subjective sport. Like it's up to that set of judges on the day.
Yeah, I've never been involved in it. And it's funny, when you do the preparation, that's when you feel the most relaxed when it comes to competition or game day. It's when I've done everything I can, whether it's massive surf, it's kind of out of my hands to some degree, or a subjective sport. You get there and you enjoy it.
Yes.
No stones unturned. So
yes,
that's cool. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
So Bonnie, if you want to catch up with you, we're looking for some coaching or we're looking for some corporate experience, we get you at...
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say it clearly this time, bonniehancock.com, or across any of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Would absolutely love to come and talk to your workplace, talk to your sporting group, and share the learnings from my paddle as well, about team building, resilience, a whole bunch of things. So, get in touch.
Bit of a high-performance coach management program going there too, I'd say, in the future.
Hopefully.
Yeah, nice work. Thanks for coming on board.